This AskReddit user asks, what children's movie is actually very creepy, unsettling? Return to Oz is genuinely unsettling. Replacing Toto the dog with a chicken was pure genius. The flying bed scene was also top-tier weird. Billina the chicken is from the third book of Oz and the characters from that book are used. Technically they don't actually go to Oz but on the outside the desert. Not sure if explained that way in movie. After Dorothy gets swept into the ocean on a trip to Australia with her uncle. There's 40 ounces books so the lore is crazy. Edit. Wait 2. Fantasy conversion. Those crazy monkeys on wheels. And the heads. Pinocchio. The donkey scene. I'd rather watch Requiem for a Dream than see that CREEPIEST again. The donkey scene in Stromboli. That guy scared the ST out of me as a kid. Lock up Pinocchio in a makeshift birdcage jail. I'm out. Disney had so many dark animated films back in the old days. If they were released today, they wouldn't be considered kids' films. But yeah, this movie used to give me nightmares. The coachman's devil face, the donkey transformation scene and Monstra were all very unsettling. The movie Mars Needs Moms is about how life is miserable and loveless if you don't have a mom, which is pretty FD up. Did anyone ever watch that TV short, Rikki Tikki Tavi? I remember the cobra being scary as HL. Yep. The cobra's name was Nag. That whole cartoon series was pretty intense. I've said this before and I'll say it again, Black Beauty. I was crying for the horses whilst my mum was sniffing in the kitchen over Princess Diana. The Dark Crystal. It's creepy as HL. The podlings getting their life force sucked out is still so horrifying to me. That scene FD'd me up so bad when I was a kid. I had nightmares for so long. Finally re-watched it as an adult and spent so much of it laughing my ass off at everything. Thank you. I mentioned this in another thread and all these other people talked about what wonderful childhood memories they had of that movie. My best friend and I went to see it the summer after 4th grade and we both thought it was pure nightmare fuel. All we could talk about for days was how FG scary it was. The witches. Hey. They have purple eyes. Stub feet. Walk around all day in public wearing faces to hide how truly hideous they are. And live. For the sole purpose of catching children and doing terrible things to them. Sure. Put them in a kid's movie. What's not to love? I'm sure that won't make generations of children suspicious of strange old women. Not at all. I had nightmares about that girl being trapped in the painting alone and slowly getting older until she disappeared. Watership Down. I also found that one with Bowie in it very creepy. Labyrinth. You remind me of the Babe. What Babe? Monster House is actually pretty scary. Also Edward Scissorhands, not necessarily a kid movie but I swear it only has a PG rating and for what goes on if it should be at least a 12. It terrified me. I came here to say Monster House. First the kid thinks the old man had a heart attack because of him. That he watched him die. Then later when they think he murdered his wife because she was literally entombed in concrete in the basement. Oh, no. She just fell and died and was covered in concrete during construction. Just left her body there. Kept on building. Great. My 5-year-old son thinks it's hilarious and I'm concerned. Honestly, it was the weirdest concept, like a haunted house, but it was actually the house that was a spirit. I haven't watched it for years, but the scenes that stick out to me are the flashback ones of him and his wife where she'd get put into a cage for being fat. Honestly, what a dark concept, ha 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 ha. Interesting artifact of movie history. There was never a PG-13 until later. So a lot of PG movies up until the 90s or so. Could be anywhere from not quite Barney to not quite Deadpool. The Neverending Story. This concept itself is quite scary. But what makes this film all the more eerie and disturbing are the fantastical and strange creatures Bastian encounters on his endeavors to save the dying Fantasia. Holy St. I remember this. Is this where that horse drowned in mud or something? That scene was FG sad. Yep. And the giant turtle. The scary black wolf. The big white dragon with a gross-looking back. The weird palace. ATRAYUUUUU. That's the one. Never-ending STOOOOORYYYYAHHAHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHMovies FG weird. Why is this not higher? I liked it. But it was weird. Mostly the dancing, ballerina kinda part. The scene between the old king and the young queen. Where they are singing. That still gives me bad vibes. Little Monsters End bothered me as a kid when boy rips off his fake face to reveal a monstrous face underneath. Also this one was creepy. From 1985. Adventures of Mark Twain, The Mysterious Stranger. Surprised to see the mysterious stranger so far down. That scene will forever be one of the creepiest moments in a children's movie ever. I agree. I think the point of it, though, is that the devil doesn't realize he's doing evil. He just does it because he has no connection to the people. They're not beings to him. They're only clay and you can just make more. I think that's important. People don't often sit back and think, well, golly, what I'm doing is evil. Maybe I shouldn't do that instead. They justify it. They cook up reasons why this person or that group or that country deserves it. And armed with that justification, people go on to commit terrible atrocities. The secret of NIMH. Quote, NIMH batteries are not that big of a deal once you learn how to charge them correctly. What a crazy flick. I watched it last year and it honestly holds up pretty well. I imagine many adults who like fantasy, sci-fi would enjoy it. They had a weird combination of science and magic that didn't get developed enough. Emo. The original plot of the book was about super smart rats, if they'd stuck to that. Or made it a purely magical film. They'd have done a better job. As it was, it felt like watching two movies crammed into one time slot and it just didn't deliver. Brave Little Toaster is pure nightmare fuel. After watching that as a kid, I anthropomorphized all my household tools. And would cry when I ran over the vacuum cord. I would also thank my toaster for toasting. I would also thank my toaster for toasting. The Omnissiah smiles upon you. When the machines rise, you may be spared. Implying the brave little toaster wasn't a Necron lord. I still can't watch Disney's Hunchback or Notre Dame without feeling extremely uncomfortable. The rotten fruit throwing scene always bothers me, and Frollo is the creep of creeps. Nothing like a movie where the antagonist sings about wanting to bone this hot chick or burn her to death for not boning him. Hellfire is the ultimate nice guy anthem. That movie Coraline, or however it's spelled, my niece was watching it when I visited for Christmas and I was like, what the actual FK is this? It's scary but really artfully done. With the music and animation put together. When the book was being reviewed to be published, the publisher was worried children would be afraid of it and let their child read it. The child read it, and when asked if it made them afraid, they said no. And the book got released. Later the kid said that they lied, as they didn't want to seem scared. But by then the book was popular, so nothing was taken back afterwards. I watched as a kid thinking it would be a fun movie. That was a big mistake. I read the book now that I'm a little older and it was quite good. But very creepy and scary for a kid book. 9. It's a beautifully animated, moving narrative. But the world it's set in is super FD. No spoilers. But it's definitely worth a look. Beautiful movie. Bought it when it came out but haven't been in the right mood to watch it again. Little Nemo. If you were spared this film growing up, chances are you became a happier, healthier person than I did. I love the movie Ferngully, but it was unsettling as HL when I was a kid. Tim Curry makes a great villain. Though, I'm with you on that. It was very disturbing. For me though, I think it was the start of me being more conscious of the environment. So that's good. The worst nightmare I ever had involved Hexus. He was coming down my hallway at night with a spoon of butter, and somehow that terrified the HL out of me, and I can still see it clearly in my mind. I watched that movie a lot over at the babysitter's. Never watched Ferngully again XD. One of my favorite movies ever, but I was also terrified of Hexus. I always thought Gremlins was a kids movie cause I grew up watching it and loved it. However, when I showed it to my adult girlfriend, she was horrified. In particular by the scene where Phoebe Cates recounts her family finding her dad's decomposing body in the chimney dressed as Santa. But it's still an awesome flick. It was also supposed to be much darker. Charlie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Grandpa Joe was the most sadistic fictional character ever created. Grandpa Joe is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most iconic villains in cinematic history because he pretended to be a bedridden invalid until there was free chocolate to be had, and then, and only then, did he find the strength to get up and dance like the evil shitbag sorcerer he actually was. Our Grandpa Joe hate. James and the Giant Peach. Roald Dahl definitely supplies some nightmare fuel. The boat scene in W.Y. Wonka had me poopin' my PJs as a kid. There's something about that whimsical style of horror that gets you no matter the age. Yeah, the mixture is very complimentary, but it's eerie. For young kids it's like a perversion of the content they're familiar with. For older people, it's like their nostalgia is getting stabbed in a back alley. It just feels like betrayal for everyone, really lol. All Dogs Go to Heaven. That movie FD with me. Knowing about Judith Barcy's death only makes it worse. Her case is truly tragic and unsettling. Her tombstone wrecked me up when I heard about it. Edit. Yep. I didn't know it was her. I only knew her in The Land Before Time. That's so sad. E.T. Jesus FK, that movie. It's like ABK became giant and alive. The scene with all the doctors was scary as HL. I was so scared of it as a kid. Me too. Generally had nightmares about E.T. peering into my windows with red glowing eyes as a kid. Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's a TV series, but it freaked me out when I was younger. Return the Slab. Or Suffer My Curse. What's her offer? Quote. I'm truly interested to this day. Such a legendary show. I'm surprised no one has mentioned The Polar Express yet. Everything, from the animation to that mysterious hobo, gave me the chills that I can still never explain. I was waiting for this answer actually. That vacant realistic expression on their faces before they utter their lines. Especially the conductor. Plus whisking away children on a train to the North Pole sounds like hypnotic kidnapping to me. I mean, that movie can pass as one long episode of The Twilight Zone. Like a long, humorless, musicless, no sleep, Shrek visual episode of The Twilight Zone. Now that you mention it. That would be a terrifying Twilight Zone episode. Maybe at the end it is revealed to be the imagination of a child on a train going to ANI Auschwitz camp, and the parents were just giving the child to think of something else along the way. Or it is a metaphor for death and the children are just stuck riding the train for the rest of time thinking they are going to see Santa. Or it turns into Snowpiercer. Mostly when watching that film I just wanted someone to throw the blonde kid off the moving train. Coraline. That movie messed my childhood up. The fact that this movie is listed a few times as being in people's childhood is making me feel so very old. We are 4 years away from a presidential election where first-time voters were too young to remember the '08 recession. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.